Do you struggle with managing your anger effectively? In Anger Management, Eric Holt provides a comprehensive solution for those seeking emotional control, improved relationships, and a better life.
Hello, this is Eric Holt, and you are listening to Anger Management. Take control of your emotions, the ultimate guide for men and women to achieve freedom from anger, stress, and anxiety to build happier relationships and obtain a better life. Provided to you by United Audiobooks. I hope you enjoy my audiobook. Now, let us begin.
Introduction. You have both negative and positive emotions. When asked to list their negative emotions, most people put anger first because it is the most unpleasant and difficult to deal with. Anger starts wars, but never ends them. Anger has the reputation of being powerful and, therefore, unmanageable. Anger is not unmanageable. It is propelled by the same biochemicals needed for energy, so there are positive as well as negative aspects to anger. Learning how to balance the energies of anger is ideal and will lead to feelings of control over yourself and other negativities in your life and environment. Humans are social beings, and it's essential to survive in a world where negative external events may impinge upon your contentment and happiness. In addition, the positive aspects of anger can move you towards self-improvement and help you make changes in your life and the environment around you. Negative reactions will help make you miserable and alienate others. If negative expressions of anger victimize you, knowing what organic conditions you have is required to promote anger management. Understanding your physical processes will give you the ability to use your body to teach the mind. Yours is a search for improvement in your behavior to make a difference in your life, especially in your social life. Your cognitive framework and attitude are vital. If others perceive you as negative, they will say, "Oh, that person is a grouch." You may think you have good reasons for being angry, but others don't care. People will avoid you if your moods swing from one side to the other. Perhaps you are troubled by that, but let your environment dictate your day because it's easier. Some well-tested and researched techniques may aid in your quest for balance. Those of you who are willing to take on the laudable quest to embark on this challenging journey toward anger management are to be congratulated. This world has a negative bias. If you ask for your friend's opinion on your essay, they will point out errors peppered with her own opinions. Positive anger, though, can initiate a mindful movement that promotes the success and survival of the ego. Positive expressions of anger are psychological and physical reactions against injustice, prejudice, and the like. All this energy within you leads to a negative or positive reaction. Too often, that reaction is negative due to the bias mentioned earlier. The balance between positive and negative expressions of anger is crucial. How can you get control of your impulsive reactions? Read on. What is anger? I'm mad at you. You have some nerve saying that to me. Who do you think you are? You're angry. You have targeted someone for saying or doing something that doesn't measure up to your beliefs about yourself and your environment. Secretly, you want life according to me. You are concerned with the survival of your ego. Ego is your sense of personal identity. It is who you are, and you feel you have an inalienable right to respect. Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, wrote in the Declaration of Independence, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Does liberty mean you can say and do whatever you want, whenever you want? Wars have been fought over who's right and who's wrong. And when one side wins the war, it's assumed they were right. Really? Why do people raise their voices when angry? To gain control. To win. What is the result? Fear. Others fear you, but you should fear what you've become. In the above case, the person suspends their cognitive skills and substitutes emotions indiscriminately. Some anger results from frustration and the consequential feeling of helplessness. Both the people who are instigators and those who are their victims are immature in their handling of the situation. Instead of responding to those scenarios appropriately, they permit their negative emotions to seize control of their mind and body. According to psychologist Rick Hansen, our brains are wired to scout for the bad stuff. This harks back to our mammalian roots. In prehistoric times, humans were one of the smallest animals and relatively weaker than other mammals. Although Raymond Novaco of Indiana University has separated anger into 3 modalities, cognitive, somatic affective, and behavioral, those appear to be one and the same. An extreme degree of anger is usually called rage. This occurs when a person lets loose with undifferentiated outrage, which is generally displaced onto another person or object. The angry person takes no responsibility for their outburst. Those who exhibit this anger are cognitively undisciplined and appear to have no sense of anger management or control. They may try to dismiss their anger by saying something to the effect of, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean that." However, once something is said, it cannot be unsaid. After their outburst, the person who displaced his anger often looks for another person to blame. Once they have zeroed in on someone, they tend to take chances and engage in risky behaviors. That's how most physical fights get started. Their cognitive judgment is seldom correct because they're not using it. Prejudice also plays a role. The person who created the argument may insert racially biased words. They may also bring up past events haphazardly. Remember the time when you... etc. The shift. When psychological pain worsens, anger is substituted for pain. Anger, after all, is less painful. This may not be a conscious decision, but it does serve as a distraction from the felt pain. Instead of your attention being drawn toward the self, it is now outwardly directed. You currently have other advantages. You don't have to immediately deal with alleviating the pain, and you don't have to resolve the issue that initiated the pain in the first place. When you become angry, it will allow you to assert yourself and tell others that you're in the right. Eventually, others will attack back, and your pain will be converted to a new pain. The very uncomfortable realization that you have anger issues. In 2017, the Mental Health Foundation surveyed 2,000 people and discovered that 28% were troubled by their level of anger. Anger is what is called a secondary emotion. It isn't the first emotion felt when an adverse incident occurs. An unpleasant feeling, like a feeling of disrespect, rejection, or the like, precedes it. For example, you will feel hurt if you aren't invited to a party. If you then become angry, however, anger is a secondary emotion. The primary emotion was hurt, and may very well go unrecognized. The acceleration and deceleration. Suppose you were to speak to a friend and complain that another disrespected you. When they ask you about it, you may expand on it. You may say something like, "Yes, they not only did that, but they also..." You might even let loose with a list of bad behaviors you've attributed to that person. From there, your anger may spread out to more and more people. As you continue your tirade, you may prevaricate and embellish the actual facts of the case. It's a performance. After you have expressed your anger, your satisfaction is short-lived. Have you ever noticed that people who are angry about an issue repeat their complaints? They are trying to prolong their feeling of victory. That's true, but the reward you feel will be short-lived. Anger isn't a solution. It doesn't restore a person's feelings of self-esteem or the esteem of others. What's more, it causes feelings of stress and anxiety. Thus, the pain you initially felt has been transformed into anxiety, which is both painful and long-lasting. Anger management. Society dictates that anger is unacceptable. Therein lies the dilemma. Once you realize your behavior is inappropriate, you know you've lost the esteem of others and, consequently, your sense of self-esteem. The psychologist Abraham Maslow has said that your sense of self-esteem and attainment of the respect of others are some of your higher needs. It can be very painful to incur a blow to your esteem, and you just want the pain to stop. The stress and anxiety you feel are a double-edged sword. Although anger can cause anxiety and stress can cause anger. Fear is the root cause of anger. Shakespeare has written, "We hate what we fear." In the case of loss of esteem, we are angry. Everyone also feels it's justified. Conquering anger craves action, but only action that works for the survival of the ego. To resolve your anger, you must put it aside for a short time to make it go away. The process is almost as uncomfortable as dissolving the offense itself. The most powerful tool there is for doing such is to confront it truthfully. That is yet more frightening, as we don't know what we will find. If we could suspend our feelings, we would free up our cognitive skills to analyze the real reasons for it. That isn't easy to do because of the negative bias present today. Emotion is intended for protection, but has migrated to the mental plane. People then make decisions based on emotion, not intelligence. According to the long-respected psychologist Albert Ellis, many people adhere to a set of irrational beliefs. 1. It is a dire necessity that I be loved and respected by everyone. 2. I need to be competent, loved, and respected. 3. Certain people are bad, vicious, mean, or evil. 4. Those people deserve to be punished for their errant behavior. 5. It is catastrophic if things do not go the way I want them to. 6. The causes for my discomfort come from outside of myself. 7. Avoiding life's difficulties is easier. 8. One needs to be dependent upon a significant other or others to alleviate their anger. 9. One's past history is the primary cause of their offense. 10. We should become quite upset if another becomes angry. 11. The reason for my rage lies outside of myself. 12. Our worth depends upon how we handle our anger. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is the latest trend in dealing with anger. The list above highlights the irrationality of beliefs that can trigger anger. They emerge from one's cognition, but are warped and distorted. Again, the reasons for that are emotional. That, in turn, comes from an area of the brain that regulates emotion. Emotions are necessary for existence, as they control behaviors you engage in to protect the ego. CBT emphasizes the analysis of one's beliefs for accuracy, rationality, and results of the potential beliefs they've developed from those conclusions. Cognitive therapy is essential as a means of resolving anger issues. It takes great courage to re-evaluate the thoughts that led to your feelings of anger. Many of the conclusions you have formulated need to be more accurate. First of all, you have drawn a universal application for those beliefs. For example, number 2 states, "I must be competent, loved, and respected at all times." That belief, of course, is unrealistic. Dialectical therapy is a facet of cognitive behavioral therapy. It relates to one's disturbing thoughts about the real or imagined offense. Those give rise to more secondary thoughts that bombard you, like the fear of destruction or fears of further retribution due to your anger. Cognitive behavioral therapy includes restructuring one's beliefs that led to the emotional reaction. It requires the individual to re-examine the disturbing thoughts and judge whether or not they support their conclusions. In other words, you need to challenge your beliefs in the light of reality. You should also practice empathy and respect for the feelings of another. Mindfulness is a technique used to calm your thoughts and mind. It emphasizes the acceptance, not of the negative expressions of the person you are attacking, but accepting that they are there, and do so without judgment. The biology of anger. Anger is of the body. As with any organic function, knowing the biological processes involved helps you develop techniques to handle anger more effectively. These techniques prevent anger from overwhelming you both physically and mentally. The process of producing anger is a system using both neurotransmitters and hormones. There are similarities and differences between the two. Neurotransmitters are chemical substances that create signals in the brain, and hormones are produced in the glands. Neurotransmitters and hormones work closely together to make cognition and emotion. Fight, freeze, flight. When you become angry, you apprehend a potential or actual offense via your senses. Your impression of the event receives a signal via your neurons, or brain cells, within the brain. Norepinephrine is a hormone and also what they call a neurotransmitter. There is a space between neurons that give rise to a sort of chemical spark between them. That is how a neurotransmitter works. Norepinephrine is manufactured in your brainstem. Some of it is also manufactured in your adrenal glands, in which case it operates as a hormone. Therefore, norepinephrine is a hormone and a neurotransmitter, serving as both. The hormonal aspect of it affects your body, and the neurotransmitter function affects your nervous system. At the base of the hypothalamus is a smaller structure known as the amygdala. That sends corticotropic hormones from the pituitary gland. Then the amygdala awakens the adrenal glands, located on top of your kidneys. It helps produce the hormones adrenaline and cortisol, which play a significant role in the fight, freeze, flight response. The amygdala is about the size and appearance of a bloated bean. It is a nuisance, and it is the seat of emotion and triggers an automatic reaction that only takes a split second. Imagine your life being controlled by something the size of a bean. The troublesome amygdala sets off an alarm that sends adrenaline and cortisol coursing through your circulatory system. It's as if a pressure valve has opened, and your body wants to fly into action. Often, your prefrontal cortex, which controls your thinking, is bypassed by the power of those neurotransmitters and hormones. When you're outraged, anger has a powerful effect on your body and affects you and others keenly. Because the amygdala, in particular, has such an important influence on your thinking processes, your decision-making abilities are negatively affected. Adrenaline triggers emotional arousal. Biologically, your muscles tighten up and you're ready to go. All too frequently, your reaction does not match the event's import. Has someone ever said to you, "You're overreacting"? In 1995, a psychologist by the name of Daniel Goleman coined the term amygdala hijack to describe the above occurrence. He has explored the theory of emotions and written the bestseller book, Emotional Intelligence. When you permit feelings to guide your actions, your higher brain has been squelched, and you make decisions or exercise behaviors based on emotion, not cognition. Hence, you need anger management to discipline yourself. In the case of you who freeze up and bury your feelings, your response is traumatic, but goes unnoticed by others at first. It wells up inside of your body and then becomes a characteristic of your personality. Others will say you're timid. Your fearful reactions are efforts to protect the ego, but are ineffective. In 1912, H.T. Webster created a cartoon character called Casper Milquetoast, a poor sap who attracted mental abuse from others because he was so meek. This may cause a freeze reaction in humans, causing you to hide and isolate yourself. A lack of anger management may make you feel depressed. Your sense of emotional control will not be present, leading to slow movement and possibly dependency upon others for direction. You who run away from the angry event are more active and display the flight response. The same hormone, adrenaline, is used for the fight response, but sends you in another direction. You want to escape, and may do so either physically or mentally. People notice that and conclude that you can't defend yourself. This is not a good thing, and will reduce your feelings of self-esteem. When others are asked their opinions of you, they will say, "She's nice," and nothing more. How unfortunate. An imbalance of any of these responses will cause chronic stress. Each of you who becomes aware of that imbalance wants to learn to manage the amount of stress caused by these reactions. Self-hatred. The fight with oneself. The fight, freeze, flight scenario is intended to protect the ego. Anger can initially be directed outward to defend one's ego from harm, the fight response. Once the biology alters due to sudden mood changes, fight can switch from fighting with others to fighting with oneself. When anger is directed inward, its victims will actually start to reject themselves. They may be consumed by guilt or blame. Sometimes this is caused by trauma felt at an early age. It may also be experienced later on. Self-hatred results from believing that trauma is one's own fault, regardless of whether or not it's true. Self-hatred is blinding. You desperately need an emotional balance in your life. The rescue hormone that will do that for you is serotonin. Serotonin is a regulatory hormone that helps you control your emotions. However, an overabundance of it will make you moody. A serotonin deficiency can result in sleep disorders, behavioral aberrations, and cause you to ruminate about how and why you feel that way. Furthermore, it can disturb one's sense of ascertaining rewards for their reactions to stimuli. Low amounts of serotonin are also associated with the retiring effect of those of you who are taxed by the need to deal with issues related to self-control. On the other hand, if you have persistently low amounts of serotonin, you may have panic episodes, digestive disorders, headaches, sleep irregularities, etc. Fear and perhaps confusion are the engines for those reactions. Serotonin and adrenaline make you alert. However, the adrenal compound of that combination constricts your blood vessels, thus raising your blood pressure. Norepinephrine also works in conjunction with serotonin to regulate your moods. When that balance is off, your mood changes will be extreme. You might even experience symptoms of mania. It is noticeable by others. Read this example of Phyllis. Phyllis usually came across as polite, but reserved. She initially was kind to people, but that changed with her swinging moods. People came to dislike her as she started insulting them for reasons unknown. Her mood had changed, and others didn't realize why. Eventually, they thought she imbibed alcohol and was a nasty drunk. She was eventually fired from her job. The one friend she had left came to the rescue and referred her to a psychiatrist. He did prescribe medication. It was somewhat effective, and Phyllis improved to some extent. It made her life less encumbered by her disorder. Untreated self-hatred, if not attended to, can be dangerous. Serotonin is like the policeman of the brain. When one's serotonin working alongside norepinephrine is low, these people can end up hating themselves, as they get few or no rewards in life. In extreme cases, it may result in suicide. Neurotransmitters affect the anger reaction. Because neurotransmitters are manufactured in the brain, they send messages via your nervous system to parts of your body and the brain itself. The neurotransmitters most active in anger are the following. Dopamine helps you feel good or rewarded for your behavior. GABA inhibits extreme neuronic reactions. It has a calming effect. Oxytocin is a pleasure hormone similar to dopamine. Norepinephrine. As mentioned above, norepinephrine increases awareness, alertness, and arousal. Serotonin. As discussed earlier, serotonin controls moods, sleep, digestion, and other functions. Cortisol releases glucose or sugars into your bloodstream for extra energy.
I hope you're enjoying my audiobook so far. It would be a pleasure if you could let me know how you're feeling about this audiobook in the comment section below. We would greatly appreciate it if you would also like the video and subscribe to United Audiobooks to have access to more best-selling audiobooks in the future. Also, Please, if you are interested in getting more free audiobooks, please click the first link in the description below. Now, let us carry on with the next chapter.
Anger. Nasty or nice? Distortion of the fight, freeze, flight response. Thomas Edison once humorously remarked, "The chief function of the body is to carry around the brain." Anger occurs within the brain, but has its effects on your body. Edison probably had wished it was otherwise. Imagine someone who usually sleeps. One of anger's nasty effects may cause him to lead a lackluster and monotonous life. He was engaged in the flight response to anger by hiding from life's challenges. He betrayed a vibrant life for a disappointing ransom, malaise, and inactivity. While dealing with anger is challenging, handling it healthily brings about a life worth living. You who run away from dealing with anger, the flight response, often develop anxiety that can cause stomach ailments. In that case, you may stunt the healthy functioning of your solar plexus, a tight network of ganglia, nerve networks, located above the stomach. You may also be victimized by the pent-up anger that settles there. You can display symptoms of nervousness, like trembling, and even moving around spastically. The added energy you suck from your body can cause people to say you're energetic, but disappear when most needed. Those of you who freeze up are paralyzed by indecision and depend on others to lead your life. The triggers for that are much the same as for the aggressive form of anger. As a result, your body may hoard hormones. Intellectually, you may not feel the full effect of the stimulating event and make poor decisions. This may also happen when you are traumatized. If you are exposed to a low level of trauma over a prolonged period of time, the freeze reaction is stronger, and your trauma may be deliberately excused. There have been many cases where an abused woman tolerates abuse for a long time. They say they've forgiven the abuser, but he repeats his behavior. Of course, the freeze reaction is detrimental to your well-being, regardless of the situation. It is one of the most significant causes of anxiety. It may also bring about obsessive-compulsive disorders. Those of you who explode when things don't go your way will be subject to its effects. You are among those who demonstrate the fight aspect of anger. Buddha has said, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by it." This truism will cause you to seek relief from stress. In addition, you may develop the practice of blaming others rather than yourself for your reaction. At the heart of your anger is the mistaken belief that others are wrong and you are right. When you see that others pull away from you, you may feel guilty. Why are you angry? Researchers have indicated that 1 out of 10 people have anger issues. That's an astounding number. Childhood experiences shape your behavior as adults. In the home, anger may become a common occurrence. Children quickly learn that it is acceptable. Moreover, they don't learn the true and loving words they should say to family members and others. It is frightening if a parent is ill and confined to bed. Children will feel it as keenly as their healthy parents. They will feel helpless or resentful if they have to help out in little ways, like bringing food to the sick parent. What's more, their regular routines will be disrupted. Routines bring security. Most children are usually healthy, save for minor injuries. If a parent is very ill, this will frighten them. They are also affected by that as an adult, even though the experience occurred years ago, and they thought they had forgotten it. Again, as an adult who has seen that with their parents, they will remember how they felt. When someone has lost a parent, there is a substrate of guilt. They tend to feel that they could have prevented the death. They may also manage to review their relationships with their deceased parent or parents and find them wanting. They may become angry at themselves and feel guilty. Guilt is totally non-productive. Children quickly learn what their parents expect of them. When you're a married adult, you carry that learning over to your relationship and assess your spouse's expectations. If one spouse is erratic, the marriage is in danger. If parents are strict, children won't be children. They will play less and be corrected when they roughhouse with others. They will not be allowed to run and play as children do. Sometimes, the mother will become angry when they dirty their clothes. As adults, they will be strict and meticulous. As a youngster, you have now been exposed to stress. For example, you may need to remember to bring permission slips home. You may dodge out of sports practices. Your schoolmates may lure you into activities your parents forbade. You'll likely remember those events and try fruitlessly to relieve the stress that accompanied them. Stress instigates anger. Why should I have to do that? It isn't fair. As adult workers, these people often say, "That's not my job." They will fail to be generous. Teens have to face the challenge of measuring up to the standards of their peers, and they become angry at others or themselves when that doesn't happen. Many become job hoppers because their bosses are stupid. As a teen, perhaps you didn't pass muster with your peers. Maybe you are different. Maybe your hair or clothing isn't like the others. You will then be considered to be an odd duck. That is a blow to your self-esteem and will be carried into adulthood. Anger needs a target. A woman who lived in an assisted living facility nursed repressed anger. At the communal meals, she went from person to person, insulting them without reason. She had the freedom to express herself, but as a result, she was socially rejected and lonely. People will seek out a target and express their rage while driving, or take out their anger on friends or strangers. They will also seek out people who seem weaker than themselves. The difficulties they incur may be unpredictable and even dangerous. The end result of this behavior is rejection, loneliness, and depression. Bringing your anger home. Many people who have anger issues at work take it out on their spouses or children. This develops a crisis atmosphere when they return from work. Unlike the children who greet their parent or parents upon their return, they will run the other way. Sometimes the other spouse makes an excuse. "Well, you know how mommy is." Children may accept anger as a way of life in the house. Anger displaced is never acceptable. Children, in particular, will displace it themselves and take it out on their neighbors' children or at school. Very often, however, children who are exposed to anger at home will be withdrawn. They feel that other authority figures will do it to them too, or they will engage in the defense mechanism called reaction formation. Reaction formation occurs when a person does the opposite of what they feel. Children are fearful when parents argue. It threatens their well-being. They often huddle together somewhere else in the house. Constant exposure to anger in the home will produce either angry or timid children. On many occasions, the anger felt by the parent will be displaced onto the children. In response, those children might displace the anger at school or in the neighborhood. Children under the age of 10 who run away from home seldom leave because of anger issues. Their home is their security, and they will tend to stay just to be sure it's there, despite the discomfort. The same doesn't apply to preteens and teens. They do leave when and if they are ready. The psychological damage is so significant that they are willing to live in squalor or befriend peers who might do them harm rather than go home. Also, many are prostitutes or sold into sex slavery in some countries where that happens. In terms of spousal relationships, men tend to carry their anger from work to home. Researchers have called this phenomenon the spillover effect. There are gender differences that manifest themselves in this scenario, but not all of them do. They may tend to hide their workplace anger. The submergence of their anger may cause them to brood and withdraw from familial interaction. When the wife tries to get her husband to talk about the work situation, he becomes angry at her. Women tend to communicate situations encountered at work. Unfortunately, they may obsess over the subject and dominate dinner conversations. This is an issue that the two spouses have to discuss. It helps if they agree to discuss their workplace anger issues, but not at the dinner table. Spouses can always offer understanding and sympathy to each other, which will make a difference. They may even present suggestions. If one or both of them have high-paying jobs, but that work increases their anger level, a change of jobs might be in order, even though less money will come into the household. Anger from one's job should never be aroused to the point that it destroys a relationship. Many couples live in different states because they don't want to lose their high-paying jobs. This is unfortunate, as it will result in harm to the children and themselves. Sometimes a parent will be in charge of child rearing. That again introduces anger into the relationship, and they may separate. Might is right is a famous saying penned by Arthur Desmond, pseudonym Regno Redbeard. It is the language of those who feel they win through anger, and it's also the language of the streets. Should you be among the people who constantly complain and find nowhere to vent your true feelings, you will develop depression. If your family doesn't support you, you may feel emotionally abandoned. In reality, you're lonely. To compensate, you may seek others who are hostile. If that's true, you may become involved with gangs and law enforcement. Many gangs provide emotional support. They create protocols to join the gang, and success with that affiliation will give you a sense of self-esteem. It becomes a substitute for family. If you are imprisoned, you may even look forward to the fact that prisons will take care of you. At least they will give you a place to eat and sleep. Once you're in jail, there is a struggle for leadership within the prison environment. That, in turn, triggers anger, leading to fights. Then the fight, freeze, flight phenomenon repeats itself. It's a vicious cycle. Cognitive behavioral therapy. In the 1950s, the researcher Aaron Beck developed what is known as cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It has become widely practiced today. As the term implies, the person uses cognitive skills to assess a situation and assign positive or neutral meanings rather than negative ones. For example, if a friend walks away from you, it doesn't necessarily mean they think you're rejecting them. They could be in a hurry or have something important on their mind. If you let this affect your emotional state, it will reduce your sense of self-esteem. It may confuse your reactions. Anger absorbed. People who turn their anger inward don't use their anger. In an old animal experiment, somebody taught dogs to avoid lying in certain areas of their cages when they were given an electric shock. Such practices are now forbidden. In the end, most dogs gave up, fled from the shock, crouched down, and tolerated the pain. They developed a syndrome called learned helplessness. Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, "Learned helplessness is the giving up. It is a quitting reaction that follows the belief that whatever you do doesn't matter." Anger arises from the desire to control a situation or even a person, and you are frustrated when that doesn't happen. You give up. Anger and depression. There is a relationship between anger and depression. Some of you may perennially feel irritable and angry. Have you ever met someone who doesn't happen to be angry, but seems to look for reasons to be angry? If they find none, they create them. They actually seem to enjoy being angry. When they are unsuccessful, they are subject to depression. Any efforts made to help them will most likely be rejected. The other reason for avoiding remediation is the fact that they know how to be angry, but don't know how to be pleasant. They feel somehow that they've lost their power and control. It is a loss, and people are depressed when they've lost something they once had. Their sense of self-esteem and the esteem of others is diminished. They curl up like a beaten dog. Passive aggressiveness. Passive aggressiveness was listed in the psychiatric manual as a personality disorder. Colonel C. Menninger first labeled it during World War II. The colonel observed resistance to fighting the war on the part of his men. It manifested itself as pouting, laziness, stubbornness, procrastination, lack of efficiency, and obstructive behavior. However, because it gained a myriad of descriptions, the term passive-aggressive was retitled Other Specified and Unspecified Personality Disorders. Another term popularly used is negativistic personality. An example of the negativistic personality is a tendency for a husband to put off requests from the wife to do things around the house. Negative people may procrastinate responsibilities, such as paying taxes and making promises they don't intend to keep. If you are a manager, you may assign a worker a task which they cannot do in the allotted time you provide them. You may frequently engage in complaining and enjoy it. Also, you may deliberately do something you know another doesn't like, but who is too timid to object to it. Denial is one of the worst effects of anger. It leaves very little hope for reform. One who denies a problem will sense that something is wrong, but won't be willing to correct it because they won't admit it's there in the first place. In the above example, the manager was not only in denial, but passive-aggressive. In truth, he was angry at his workers, but held back on expressing it, even in the safe environment of the factory. His aggressiveness was insidious, and his anger emerged when he left his firm for another one. It is interesting to note that passive-aggressive people function well for the most part. Quickly, they learn the limitations of their staff and play on them. They aim to finish the job within deadlines and take it out on their staff if they don't meet them. They use their staff to get promoted to higher new positions. Passive aggressiveness doesn't work well with upper management. It interferes with their performance, and they're left with too much to handle. In your personal life, using coping strategies can help you deal with unresolved issues. Situations between family members are long-lived and sometimes have to be left that way. Take the case of Amy. Every time Amy visited home, she only stayed for 3 hours. Her mother was passive-aggressive, and she would look for Amy's limitations and argue about them after 3 hours had passed. Prior to that, the both of them would have a pleasant conversation. Intermittent explosive disorder. Dissociative anger. Anger submerged can result in a rocky marriage. Once, those of you who suffer from this will suffer distress when you realize it, and it will threaten your relationship. The intermittent explosive disorder can go on for years. Oddly enough, you aren't interested in searching for another mate, as you're accustomed to your spouse. The recommended treatment is psychotherapy and drugs. When accompanied by physical fights, the other spouse's best resource is separation and possibly divorce. Oppositional defiance disorder. This defense mechanism is usually manifest in children. Temper tantrums characterize it. Inconsistent parenting is often the cause. When the personality of one parent differs significantly from the other, children play one against the other. Borderline personality disorder. People with this disorder manifest mood swings. These people can swing from liking to disliking a peer or family member. Children and spouses cannot predict what to expect from the parent or partner. "What mood is Mom in today?" they will ask. This disorder can deteriorate into a psychiatric condition if not treated. Bipolar disorder. Mood swings characterize borderline personality disorders. A person can swing from manic to depressive episodes. It interferes with work and family environmental issues. One of the most common treatments is lithium, which a psychiatrist must monitor. The treatment tends to be very effective in mild cases. Disruptive dysregulation mood disorder. The disruptive dysregulation mood disorder, or DMDD, affects children and adolescents. It is similar to bipolar disorder, but the symptoms are more severe and chronic. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, it causes frequent irritability in children and adolescents. The children are unable to relate to their classmates and friends. They also don't relate to authority figures and often ignore them. When confronted, they frequently blame others for their mistakes and infractions of the rules. They are sometimes truant. They steal without compunction. These children tend to run away from home. These reactions may result in the authorities sending them to special schools. Early causes may be hyperactivity, antisocial behaviors, and even schizophrenia. Uneven parental discipline and substance abuse on that part of one or both parents may be at the heart of this disorder. Also, childhood trauma may be a cause. A child like that may walk the streets, beg for food, and contend with delinquents. If the issue is left unresolved, they may eventually come to the attention of the Bureau of Family Services and be removed from their homes. Some are placed in residential facilities run by the state. Unfortunately, there is no recognized treatment for this condition, but research is being conducted. Bullying. Many discussions about bullying are about the bullying of children. That overlooks the behavior of adults involved in it. Nations of the world from time immemorial have engaged in bullying. Its motive arises from anger. The underlying reasons for that are power and control. That was practical in the case of ancient man and those who lived in the earlier centuries. As tribes grew in numbers and invented new weapons, they had the need to expand their territories. That meant they had to confiscate lands occupied by other tribes. For example, the Germanic tribes conquered lands to the west of them. They then conquered other areas for political or religious reasons. Beyond the more practical needs, there is a corrupted need for self-esteem and the esteem of others. Napoleon felt the need to become an emperor. As with Napoleon at Waterloo, bullying is ineffective, as it doesn't end well. It also doesn't achieve a sense of genuine self-esteem and the esteem of others. Revenge is one of the most egregious of the reasons for bullying. There is no profit in revenge. In Macbeth, William Shakespeare wrote, "Blunt not the heart, enrage it." Revenge may bring a feeling of victory, but that is short-lived. It regenerates itself and blocks hope for remediation or forgiveness. Envy is present where there is bullying. Like the need for the esteem of others, jealousy can be caused by feelings of inferiority. One compares one's accomplishments with that of another and finds themselves wanting. Camaraderie would seem to be a strange reason for anger. However, take the example of street gangs. They use physical and mental hostility to gain power, control, and money to fulfill their need for socialization and a feeling of belongingness. Teens may become juvenile delinquents because their family and local environment are negative. Many wear the same t-shirts or tattoos. In a twisted way, the group feels the reward of belongingness and the respect of others in their gang. The effects of anger: nasty or nice. Like raucous crows, bullies of this globe make much noise. Newspapers are plastered with what's wrong, not what's right. There have been efforts to publish newspapers that herald good news, but they aren't successful. When your mom said, "Don't open that cabinet, don't touch the stove, don't run in the house," she has introduced the negative. This world has a negative bias. Wars usually end at the negotiation table only after people and property have been destroyed or damaged. There are no nice responses. Still, there are ways to avoid that negativity from the news media. If you avoid toxic people, you can open yourself up to a new world of nice people. Within your environment at work, you may be sucked into commiserating with friends about your work situations. What about taking the initiative and developing ways to support management? Instead of being critical, make suggestions. Positive uses of the energy created by anger can motivate you to solve problems. You can also engender cooperation from others. That will give you a positive feeling and increase the esteem of others. According to the psychologist Abraham Maslow, the esteem of others is one of your higher needs, and it brings reward. Remember, you can go a long way on anger. That isn't necessarily a negative statement. If you're incensed about an abuse, you can utilize the energy to correct the situation. How many times have you heard people say, "I don't want to get involved"? For example, if you witness a hit-and-run accident, you should take the responsibility of identifying the perpetrator. Many do not. You can feel stronger than others if you do so. People have plentiful arguments about politics. Parents attend PTA meetings to voice their honest opinions. Such behaviors aren't the result of a fight response. They are honest responses to well-thought-out issues. Those people have laudable goals despite the rightness or wrongness of the matter. Demonstrations are the result of the organized efforts of a group of people to meet their goals. Such action will do much to help you contribute to society. Anger can preserve your beliefs and values. Situations that arouse anger may be caused by a discrepancy between your value and belief system and that of others. Once the heat of your anger has subsided, you can compare those two value systems, ascertain their differences, and compare them with your own. In calm moments, you should modify your value system to align yourself with others. Thus, you may find common ground on which you agree. Eustress is a level of anger-related stress that produces a positive result. It is passion. It is a purpose for living. Curiously, one of the hormones engaged in negatively driven and positively driven anger is the same: cortisol. It works in partnership with adrenaline. That hormone will give you the impetus to generate the energy needed to reach a goal by controlling the amount of the molecule glucose. Glucose is blood sugar. The breakdown of glucose provides energy, which is used for the fight, freeze, flight response. Its positive effect is the fact that it adds dynamism to accomplish a goal. The result would be astonishing if you were to apply the energy derived from adrenaline, epinephrine, and cortisol to work toward a positive goal. What's more, you will be transformed by the effort. Unlike the results of harmful anger, you will be rewarded. Eustress occurs when people compete in a race. It occurs during demonstrations and sports. The desire to win is a mighty one. Anger is an emotion designed for survival. It keeps you vigilant and prepared against attack. When and if you are offended, carefully control your reaction. Using the I word can help when you're offended. For example, if you say, "I felt bad when you said I was a poor discussion leader," the most common response is, "Oh, I didn't mean that." That reply leads to clarification and modification of the person's reaction. If someone insults you or fails to give you the rights you deserve as a person, you need to respond by using a modicum of anger. Some annoying and belligerent people try to see if you're a meek subject and would make a good target. Discharging a burst of anger can be calming, provided you don't ruminate. Rumination is a process by which you dwell upon an issue and run it over and over in your mind, sometimes creating different versions of a response that you could or should have made. Anger is a powerful motivator. The adrenaline that pumps through your system energizes you to change your behavior, which can be rewarding. That behavior, in turn, will protect you from people who don't respect you. Anger, in proper moderation, is a survival skill. It can give you an optimistic viewpoint. You can use its energy to focus on what you want. Free your mind from its negative factors, especially victimization and what is commonly known as the martyr complex. Anger on your part may give rise to guilt. Guilt is non-productive, and there is no profit in revenge either. Anger, on the other hand, can motivate you to change. Anger will prevent you from feelings of helplessness. It will help you stand up for yourself. You may buckle at times, but that happens to all people. If you remind yourself that you don't deserve the angry words or actions of another, you aren't helpless. You are permitted to react. After effects of anger. Anger can blind you. The effects of anger are potent. Your muscles will be tense. Your blood pressure will rise as the adrenaline rushes into your bloodstream. That and the glucose will trigger a release of lactic acid. Lactic acid will tire you. The expenditure of that powerful biochemical causes muscular fatigue and leads to poor physical performance. Its use is to keep you from overexerting yourself. Overproduction of lactic acid can cause confusion. In extreme cases, overactive people have been known to have heart attacks, shock, or drop dead from those events. The sunny side of anger. While dealing with anger is challenging, it brings about a life worth living. You can force yourself to look for the positive in life. Rejoice that you have good health. The weather is pleasant, nature is beautiful, and you're escaping the mundane by reading an exciting book. When someone engages in small talk with you, they obviously like you. You who run away from dealing with anger, the flight response, often develop anxiety that can cause stomach ailments. The added energy you suck from your adrenal glands will dispel the intense desire to deal with the stimulating event negatively. Sharing your limitations with significant others will elicit compassion. The power of serotonin. The physical chemical called serotonin is associated with the retiring effect of those of you who are taxed by the need to deal with issues related to self-control. Insufficient serotonin deprives you of the ability to regulate your behaviors. Those of you who suffer from fluctuating amounts of serotonin may sometimes be described as moody. The engine for those reactions is fear. Anger can be affected by depression, panic episodes, digestive disorders, sleep irregularities, etc. Boost those serotonin levels up. Reduce your negativity and propel yourself to act. Persistently low amounts of serotonin may cause depression, and you want to avoid that. Very mild exercise will help. Simply walking your dog will give you the opportunity to meet other people. If you are angry at yourself, you can choose to see the good in life instead. Serotonin, produced in the intestine, is the ringmaster. Haven't you gravitated toward people who seem to be in control of a conversation? They are in charge for reasons you don't quite understand. If you notice, they usually speak at a lower pitch. They speak slowly and deliberately. If you imitate them, you will draw others to you. Don't be surprised if you see 3 or more people listening to you thoughtfully. Daydreaming. Daydreaming is usually discouraged because it's a loss of focus. However, it has a positive aspect. The human body needs its rest. It is pleasant sometimes to let your mind wander. You all need a break from thought, and why not? Usually, your mind will wander about events regarding short-term accomplishments you have attained. Sometimes, creative ideas bombard your mind and are worth writing down for another time. The prolific writer Stephen Cannell once said that ideas rushed into his mind at such an incredible rate that he had difficulty fleshing them out. Isaac Asimov was another writer who experienced the same phenomenon and spewed out one book after another. When you permit this to happen, it will make you feel good. The hunt for dopamine. Dopamine is called the pleasure hormone. It's produced in the center of your brain, in the hypothalamus and the nearby structures, the striatum, substantia nigra, ventral tegmental area, and the nucleus accumbens. Point your finger at your head about 2 inches above your ear and an inch toward your eye. There they are. Their functions are the provision of pleasure. 2 psychological effects of dopamine are reward and motivation. The physical effects are control of motor movement and short-term memory. Low dopamine levels, however, are responsible for Parkinson's disease and dementia, a relatively recent finding. Because the emotive results of dopamine can also give one a feel-good reaction, people are interested in getting more of it. Natural methods of getting that are protein consumption, meditation, sunlight, sleep, music, the arts, and exercise. No doubt you've heard about runner's high. That results from dopamine acceleration. Notice that athletes consume a lot of proteins. When you are angry, you never win an argument, do you? All you're left with is a lapse into insults or profanities. No one is keeping score, so there's no reward in it for you. Then you or the other will back off. The adrenaline that has raced through your body will cause what is called an adrenaline crash. Cortisol, an emergency hormone in your adrenal glands, will shut down its flow. You might even go into a crisis. If not, you'll be tired, have sleep disorders, a sugar or salt craving, and imbibe caffeine to get through the day. To relieve the adrenal shutdown experience, your body will seek dopamine. You will tell yourself you won the argument, but your cognitive mind will tell you that you didn't. Chronic stress will follow. When accompanied by an adrenal crisis, it can be very serious. You will think about your anger, but you're deprived of the energy to continue due to the low level of adrenaline and cortisol. Your mind will move to another subject, far less challenging. So, what is the sunny side of anger? It is a release. In this world, you will also find people who, like you, are given to anger, though it isn't that strong. People like you are often attracted to each other and form a mutual commiseration society. You and they will spend hours complaining. It's an odd phenomenon because, despite the negativity, it will promote feelings of camaraderie. You'll receive reinforcement of your ideas. That will actually raise the amount of dopamine in your body, though it isn't psychologically healthy. However, at least you have friends. There is no pleasure without pain. With every shot of dopamine comes a desire for more. Excessive desire to engage in dopamine-producing behaviors can result in a yearning for more and more. The intensity of that desire can produce a longing for it. Lack of dopamine is the pain felt when one isn't quite satisfied. Because amphetamines are structurally similar to dopamine, some resort to using those drugs to mimic the positive feelings resulting from dopamine. Those drugs are addictive. The sunny side of freeze reaction. Those of you who freeze up are paralyzed by indecision and depend on others to lead them through life. The triggers of inaction are much the same as the aggressive form of anger, except for the fact that the body hoards the hormones. Intellectually, you will not initially feel the stimulating event's full effect. This may happen when you are traumatized. If you are exposed to a low level of trauma over a prolonged period of time, the freeze reaction is even more vital. Depending on your adversary, this may be your best reaction. It will disarm the other. It will also give you a few seconds to consider your reaction before acting. While the freeze reaction can be negative, others often misread it, and you may be seen as compatible and agreeable. People's reaction to you is, "She's okay." Those of you who suffer from the freeze reaction crave an audience but wait for an opportunity to be included rather than speaking up for yourself. No one notices that you're leaving a negative situation because you're scared. That is not a bad thing. It is intended for your psychological survival. You know your own limits, and it's wise not to surpass them. Those of you who explode when things don't go your way will be subject to its effects. You will demonstrate the fight aspect of anger. Buddha has said, you will not be punished for your anger, you will be punished by it. This truism has led you to seek relief from the stress it causes. The positive side of it is that the discharge of that explosive emotion may help you feel better. It's like fireworks exploding. One grand explosion, and then it's over. You may have to apologize for your outburst later, though. Should you be among the people who express anger and constantly complain, you will find that behavior alienates others in time. The causes are myriad, from abuse as a child, parental neglect, hidden jealousy, recognition of your own limitations, and loss of a loved one or significant other. Those of you who are subject to that feel emotionally abandoned. Anger can also blind you. The effects of anger are potent. There can be a positive effect of anger if it's righteous anger. An obvious reaction to anger may even lead to feelings of success. Take the example of a person who wins many arguments they start. Politicians who are charismatic and forceful drive their messages to the audience and win. Anger used rightly. Amazingly, the onset of moderate internal or external anger can and will prompt you to optimism. You can easily picture yourself as a kind of superhero. That is the reward for managing your anger. You are now empowered to do good rather than run and hide from injury, insult, or hostility. Anger can be used as a bargaining tool. In those cases, the other may see themselves as more important, or may feel their position is more worthy than yours. This situation causes you to evaluate your beliefs and judge whether or not they are in harmony with the other. That way, you can get to the heart of the issue. You can elucidate your values, give importance to them, and lead others to recognize that. Once you have verbalized that point, you have subtly gained control. Do not abuse it. Present options for the other. In any bargaining situation, neither side wins everything they want, but each gets something that will bring about a measure of gratification. This can reward you with cooperation and possibly friendship. In a negotiation situation, Van Cleef et al. Discovered that, in an academic argument, people were more likely to align themselves with the person who came across more forcefully than a happy person. Social status. Larissa Tiedens of Stanford University has conducted a number of studies on anger. She and her co-authors discovered that the person who expresses anger outwardly by facial expression, voice volume, and the like gained more respect than their peers. Those who expressed mild anger and were stubborn in their opinions were more likely to be successful in a business or family situation. Shy and submissive people were perceived as giving little thought to the issue, or were, to some extent, afraid of the stronger person. In an article by Gregory Webster et al. For the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, he says, altruism is behavior solely to help another being at the cost of the altruist. Many become missionaries, some of whom become politically involved with the governments they see as inadequate. That is where their anger is directed. However, the energy produced by their anger, which is generally mild and controlled, is directed toward the injustices they perceive. It is helpful to the populace. For example, one missionary secured a donated jeep and drove it into the jungles of Bangladesh to treat patients. Another bought an airplane, learned how to fly it, and serviced people in the less populated areas of New Guinea. The latter person died as a result of his altruistic life. Expectations and rewards. Expectation is the anticipation that something good will happen if you pursue a particular behavior or achieve a desired goal. It excites you and holds the promise of a reward. Let's say that you're an excellent chess player. You then compete in college tournaments. You join chess clubs, travel the country, and compete. Many of those contests have monetary rewards, and you're thrilled when you win them. The thrill is the reward, and that stimulates you to play more. You expect to win. You then win many more games, but lose some. During the course of your gaming experience, you study the techniques of the masters, apply them, and you're proud when you win even more. You then consider yourself better than most, and you are. Dopamine floods freely. But what happens when you lose? You're unhappy and angry enough to do better. As said earlier, anger can go a long way. So, you practice and practice. Then, again, you expect to win and feel good when you do. You quickly learn that anger can motivate you to rise to the top. Something happens during this process of winning through your own efforts and dealing with losses. You're less concerned with the series of victories and failures. You're less and less angry about losing. Instead, it is the process that moves you. In 1998, the famous basketball player Michael Jordan wrote a book entitled For the Love of the Game. What he loved was the process of trying to outdo himself, not the game itself. For him, his anger, rightly directed, gave him the energy, through adrenaline and cortisol, to continue. The process motivated him, and he loved the process of competition. What he had done, and you can do, is to convert your anger into energy. Mild techniques of anger management. Those of you who are angry aren't comfortable, and you know it. You may not even be sure why, if it's a long-term anger you feel. However, it disrupts your thinking. Anger is like mud. easy to tread into, but hard to get out of. Before understanding why you feel that way, you must calm yourself to think clearly. Those of you who know the reasons for your anger don't want to fly into another rage. Perhaps you're at work, but the anger will interfere, and you won't be able to handle your job. Perhaps you're at home, but again, the anger persists and spills over to your family. Too much fuel for the fire. The worst thing you can do is obsess over your anger and why you are angry. Those thoughts will only fester in your mind, and you will constantly stoke the fire with follow-up thoughts. While controlling your anger takes effort, applying techniques to manage it takes effort. If you sincerely want to quell your anger, just stop. Realize that you're changing channels, so to speak. You cannot undo the past. Let the past fade into the past. Now is the time to move ahead and do something different. Some techniques. These may seem like artificial techniques, but they will work. Select the method that suits your personality. According to Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence is more important than IQ. It engenders self-awareness in particular. Self-awareness of your triggers for unmanaged anger gives you an opportunity to control your behavior. There are other practical methods you may employ to achieve a result. You need not move or fly into further action. Try these restful methods. 1. When anger strikes, your breathing speeds up, your blood pressure rises, and your muscles tense up. To counter that, try slowing your breathing. 2. Find a comfortable chair. 3. Keep your head straight ahead. 4. Find a spot on the wall or the floor to focus upon. Lock your eyes on that spot. Concentrating on just that one spot will sufficiently distract you. 5. Breathe deeply. Inhale slowly and exhale slowly. 6. Hold your breath for the count of 4. Then release and breathe out. 7. Do this for about a minute or longer if you feel the need. Progressive relaxation. 1. Practice relaxing your muscles one by one at night. First, relax the feet. Then relax your legs. Next, proceed to your midsection. 2. Once you have accomplished that, move the feeling of relaxation to your upper body. Note that your shoulders may be problematic. Most of you may have a tendency to raise your shoulders when you are pensive. 3. Your arms can be following. Imagine that they are cooked noodles, very flaccid to the touch. 4. Relax your neck and your head. Adjust your pillows to attain the most restful position. Keep your mind quiet and focus only on the relaxation of the different parts of your body. If you do this well, you may fall asleep. 5. Talk to a friend. That won't take deliberation, as it is normal. However, don't wear your friend out, lest they head the other way when you approach. Be sure to reciprocate by asking the others about themselves. Remember this: a person's favorite topic is themselves. Have you ever studied the conversations of someone who is well-liked? They always encourage others to talk about themselves. Use their names in your discussion. Dale Carnegie, the famous public speaker, once said, "Remember that a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest and most important sound in any language." Empathy is the understanding of the feelings of another as if they're your own. If you are empathetic, the other will help you in times of need. Solicitation of help from another will have the immediate effect of calming you. After all, you have brought an angry situation to a significant other to support you. Even if you're wrong, another will support you as they feel complimented that you sought them out. For heaven's sake, laugh. That may be a forced laugh, but magically it works. The body can indeed teach the mind. Laughter calls up the pleasure hormones, dopamine, and a flood of endorphins. Endorphins are hormones produced in the brain that purposefully make you happy. Write a letter. Write a letter to the person about the situation that triggered your anger. Do not use a computer. Do it by hand. As you do so, you will notice that you're making many changes as you move along the letter. That is good, as it will help you look at the situation differently each time. Correct your spelling and grammar as you move along. You'll be prompted to write another letter worded differently when you write that letter. Write it. Write it yet another time, and so on. Do not mail those letters. Save them for later or tomorrow. Eventually, you will wear yourself out or be interrupted by something else. You will lose interest, and your anger will subside. Remind yourself that anger is a normal emotion. Of course, if you're prone to explosive episodes of anger, this is a more serious condition, and you might consider seeing a counselor about it. Counselors can act as sounding boards or help you focus on the harmful aspects of resorting to anger and suggest other techniques to work on. Tried and true techniques of anger management. Vacations. Most people go on vacation to escape triggers of anger. Some enjoy the beach, the country, the mountains, or visits to historical sites. Others take ski vacations. The use of a hobby pursuit is refreshing. Competitions provide a vent for their anger needs. In Okinawa, Japan, the people are very long-lived. Researchers have discovered that everyone is expected to work all their lives. If they are too old to take on a regular job, they alter their hobbies into money-making activities. Some build dollhouses. Others grow bonsai trees. They then sell them at craft markets. It gives them a sense of self-esteem, and they earn money at the same time. This practice is called ikigai. Thought halt. If you come across as angry, there is a possibility that others will become your audience. That is because they admire your openness and strength. You are no longer alone. Notice this and reflect upon it. Halt your train of angry thoughts. Imagine a traffic light. Resist the urge to race through the light. This method of anger management is the most difficult of all. It means that you will have to keep shutting out intruding negative thoughts. This process can go on for nearly a day. However, you will develop more neural networks in your brain, making you stronger cognitively. Binaural beats. Clinical scientists have researched using brain waves for therapeutic purposes. They have discovered that percussion sounds can be used to calm the mind and blunt conscious awareness. Two musical notes that are close in frequency are played. One ear hears one note at one frequency, and the other ear hears the same note at a different frequency. This has a calming effect. That frequency is below 3 MHz, the delta brainwave. During deep sleep, the delta brainwaves are active. Dreams are often about unfinished business that may trigger anger. However, there are no dreams when you're experiencing delta brainwaves. Experiments have shown that playing binaural beats induces this sleep-like, dreamless state. The psychological effect is to reduce arousal and, therefore, reduce irritation. There are recordings of binaural beats on the internet or in some digital or electronic forms. Visualization. Although upon initial exposure to the use of visualization as a way to reduce anger, many consider it too simple to work. If you are consumed with anger, practicing visualization will take a lot of motivation, but it's worth pursuing. It won't be successful in the beginning, so mind that. Visualization requires that you use all your senses vicariously. In the following example, all your senses are involved. 1. Imagine that you're in a rowboat on a quiet lake. You look up and see the sky. It's like a blue umbrella. The passing clouds travel lazily. Sight. 2. You are lying in the rowboat, which needs no oars. The boat bottom is like cotton. Tactile sense. 3. Listen to the gentle waves splashing against the wooden sides of your boat. You hear them. They are soft and soothing. Auditory. 4. The boat rocks slightly, and some water droplets fall upon your mouth. You lick them, and the water is slightly salty, but not offensive. Taste. 5. Smell the water. It is not like bottled water. It has a touch of something different from life in the sea. It could be salty water, brackish, or somewhere in between. Olfactory. 6. Imagine sirens, those female spirits from Greek mythology. Your version of them will lure you away, but warm your heart with love and peace. Superman. 1. Imagine you are Superman. Take some trouble to fashion your outfit. 2. Create a scenario in which you are rescuing people from distress. 3. Saving them from a sinking boat or removing them from an attacker are good scenarios. Toilet. If your boss or someone at work irritates you, imagine them on the toilet or in another embarrassing position. Switch places. If you're angry with your boss or another at work, imagine that you are the person in authority. Yell at them and tell them what you think about them. Be sure not to carry this back to work. Other outlets for your anger. Some people use punching bags to alleviate anger. That technique only works for some. For others, it only intensifies your anger. Working out at the gym and other activities, such as Pilates, is better. Try to have a pillow fight with your spouse. That not only helps you vent your anger, but evokes humor. Playing sports with your kids provides another outlet, and you will be spending time with your children. However, avoid playing the sports vicariously or pushing your children into performing better. Such raises the anxiety of your children and yours as well. Shoulder relaxation. If you are anxious, you will slowly raise your shoulders as if you sense that another may strike you. This protective movement is barely noticeable, so you need to be aware of it. This subtle relaxation technique will automatically cause you to go into your breathing exercises without thinking about it. Neck rolls and shoulder rolls also contribute to this form of relaxation. Music. Playing music is an acceptable way to calm your anger. Teenagers often play rock tunes very loudly. Have you ever wondered why they do that? Rock music, loud music, and percussion will fill their heads with clamor, which will, in turn, block out some of the reasons for their anger. Unlike the other senses, they cannot turn off their hearing, although you might wish you had the ability. Silence. Most of all, cease talking. Talking will tempt you to blurt out a response that may be harmful to others. It will also upset you when you reflect upon what you said. It really isn't easy being totally quiet in your mind. Your inner voice will drone on and on. Make it stop. That will not only silence you, but it will teach you control. Silence can be useful in the business of self-defense. Some people enjoy needling others or insulting them, as they get a kick out of their reactions. These are angry people themselves, who utilize passive-aggressive techniques to annoy others. They're like puzzle pieces that don't fit anywhere. Those people are nasty because they've been hurt badly in life and want to strike back. Your hands have been bound by their behavior. It takes tremendous patience and courage to do this. Time out. Create a time and place to take a time out. Go to a particular room you consider relaxing. You can always make an excuse to retreat in such a manner. It's also a good time to walk the dog. Repetitive movement. Believe it or not, cleaning the house or polishing your car helps. When you finish a pedestrian task, you will feel a sense of pride. That dispels anger. Performing these jobs necessitates repetitive movement. It spawns from routine. Routine brings with it psychological comfort and security. A cause. Use your excess energy to create a cause. You can examine your neighborhood and have your neighbors sign petitions to require the town to hire traffic guards to guide children across the streets. Participate in a demonstration. Support a local politician and work in his headquarters. You can work for a charity. You will be touched by the injustices you encounter and use your energy born from anger to try to correct them. Many such projects require volunteers. Doing that kind of work will help you substitute empathy and caring for rage. First aid squads, firefighters, and ambulance drivers serve the sick and those in crisis. You will feel good when you help afflicted people. Pet therapy. Have you ever seen a fish tank in a doctor's waiting room? There's a reason for that besides keeping people occupied. Watching fish swimming is relaxing and almost has a hypnotic effect. Of course, this also makes the waiting time seem shorter, so it serves a practical purpose for the doctor. Studies have been conducted that have shown a positive correlation between taking care of a pet and reductions in the amount of cortisol in one's system. In addition, pets have reduced loneliness and helped make a person less moody. Studies have shown that petting a dog or cat is pleasing to your tactile sense and increases the level of oxytocin, a pleasure hormone. When they eat, it also brings pleasure. The responsibility of caring for a pet is a distraction from sickness or pain. Of course, getting an animal who is relaxed and good-tempered is necessary. Eating. When an anger-stimulating event occurs, many people are drawn to eating. By nature, eating is an aggressive act. It involves biting, cutting, tearing apart a piece of food, like meat, and chewing. It is a way to dispel aggression. Select protein and avoid saturated fats. Of course, watch your caloric intake and avoid overeating. Mindfulness. John Kabat-Zinn, professor emeritus at the Massachusetts Medical School, founded the practice known as mindfulness in 1979. He had visited India to learn of their techniques and adapted them to the Western world. Mindfulness is an awareness of the here and now. It's the angelicized translation of the Indian word subhuti, and is one element in the Buddhist Eightfold Path to enlightenment and wisdom. The here and now is never static, because the world is never static. His techniques were enormously effective. Below is an exercise mimicking Kabat-Zinn's methodology. 1. Find a comfortable place to sit. 2. Imagine yourself on a beach. Listen to the sounds outside. Don't try to identify them. 3. Imagine that the objects causing the sounds you heard are slowly being sucked into the sea. 4. If you hear an incongruent noise, immediately dismiss it. 5. Breathe in and count to the highest number you can. 6. Hold your breath. 7. Slowly exhale. 8. Those thoughts that intruded your mind before will bombard you again. Dismiss them as before. 9. Return to your beach. 10. Hear the tide ebb and flow. Rise slowly and leave your chair. Mindfulness Meditation 2. 1. Go outside on a clear, starry night. Lie on a lounge chair. 2. Look up at the sky overhead. 3. Do not analyze it. 4. The sky is like an overhead umbrella all around you. 5. You are part of the universe, a small but essential part of the universe. 6. Rejoice that your heart is still beating. 7. Dismiss any noises. The sky is serenely silent. 8. Some stars blink their hello, which is beautiful. 9. Rest for a while and stare at the sky. 10. You are in here and now. 11. You are among the members of the universe. That is where you belong. 12. Return to your activities, but carry the peace of the heavens with you. Magically, it will stay with you for quite some time. MSBR stands for Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. It is what John Kabat-Zinn used with patients who are suffering from pain. The conscious mind, located in the brain's prefrontal cortex, can concentrate on one thing at a time. It distracts you. Nature meditation. Nature moves as slowly as the cotton clouds across an azure sky. Yet it is you who are moving. Where are you going? To the east, to the east. Look at the treetops swaying in the breeze. Very slowly, they grow upward, sucking in the sunshine. Listen to the cars on the road. Imagine that the sound of the tires is a river, ebbing and flowing like the tide. Listen to the birds. They are free and go where they please. No one can control them. Your mind can fly too. Let it go wherever you wish. No one can hear your thoughts, and no one can control your mind's flight. You are part of this world, but you are not of this world. Relaxation and diet. Relaxation. In Caesar's time. Eating is a form of relaxation. During the American Civil War, both sides would stop for meals. They would retire in their tents or on the field and eat. Romans used to dine in recliners while they ate. The food was served banquet style. The poorer Romans ate their food, mostly soups and stews, cooked over grills outside. They lay on their bellies while holding their heads up. As it was with the elite, they relaxed while eating. It wasn't until the 7th century that people began to sit on chairs. In modern times, a session in the war room is devoid of food. Although it may be preceded or followed by a dinner, cabinets aren't full of condiments and dry goods. The rooms are strewn with computers, wires, and cables. Occasional bottles of water sit around, most half full. Yoga. Yoga isn't just a practice of body positions. It's concentration, not on thoughts or feelings. Mentally, you are in a state of awareness and assurance. It's like mindfulness. You will need to detach yourself from the cares of the day. Focusing on the body positions alone will help you do this, but it is insufficient. Remain aware of your senses and feel the stillness of your mind. You must remain mindful of your immediate environment, but detach your awareness and senses from what is around you. Note that you will feel neither pleasure nor pain. Shrink your environment. Only some people are suited to working or living in a people-oriented environment. Anger arouses adrenaline, as indicated earlier. To reduce your anger, why not direct the energy you have received from adrenaline to things? It's less stressful because things won't answer back. Reflect upon your skills, strengths, and weaknesses. Entrepreneurial pursuits may suit you better. It will also give you time for relaxation, as you can set your own schedule. Look at your skills as they are today. What are you good at? Set up an individual enterprise. Use some goal-setting techniques. You have shrunk your environment to what you can handle and what you can't. You will be dealing with computers, and it's okay to holler at them. Everybody does. Learn how to relate to vendors and others you must deal with. Keep your emails short and to the point. Most people don't read long emails. On the telephone and in person, speak slowly at a low pitch. Don't swear. If you can, find a house more isolated. If not, keep to yourself as much as possible. However, Learn who your neighbors are and memorize everyone's name. Recall the advice of Dale Carnegie, who said that the sweetest sound anyone can hear is their own name. Avoid toxic people who may set you off. If you are unhappy with your job and become angry nearly all the time, it's worth it to consider another job. The above advice is the flight response to anger. It is okay in this circumstance. You can handle just so much. The reason. Reflect on your past life. Buried somewhere in your past is a cause for your anger. You know you are discontent. Issues in your past have set the stage. What are they? Maybe you had overly strict parents. Your mother may have been distant from you and failed to give you affection when you most needed it. That is a cause for anger. On the other hand, they may have been overly strict. Your parents could have been dissatisfied with your schoolwork or behavior. In that case, you might still be trying to please them. That causes frustration and is a cause of anger. You may have been rejected by your parents, not in a physical sense, but because they spent most of their time with your siblings. They may also have their own work to contend with. Gone is the day when the mother stayed home to care for the children. Now, both parents work. Admitting your anger is the first step, and correcting your ways is now your task. No parent was perfect, and neither was yours. Remember, you don't have to become your mother. You don't have to become your father. It is your life now, and it's your responsibility to manage it. Some families may have suffered from addictive problems on the part of a parent. One or both of your parents may have been alcoholics. One or both parents may have paid extraordinary attention to their clothing. Some may have spent a lot of time at parties, leaving you at the mercy of babysitters. Other parents have elected to send their children to boarding schools. Such behaviors are subtle forms of abandonment if it gets out of control. When parents have separated or divorced, it may have affected you negatively. Diet. There are actually foods that have a relaxing effect. Turkey. Turkey is a long-respected food to calm you down. It is naturally endowed with tryptophan. It also contains niacin, which induces the physical production of serotonin. As seen in Chapter 2, it is a regulatory hormone that will help you control your reactions. Chamomile. Chamomile is a type of tea. Many people take it to help with anxiety. It's grown in Egypt, India, South America, South Africa, and Australia. Vegetables, vitamins, and supplements. Greens like Swiss chard, spinach, legumes, seeds, nuts, avocados, and whole grains have a calming effect and reduce anger and anxiety. Magnesium helps your body produce the neurotransmitter GABA, a natural relaxing substance. Magnesium is also available as a supplement. Often, it's accompanied by vitamin B6. Doctors often direct anxious patients to take those. Probiotic foods. Matthew Hillemeyer of the College of William and Mary in Virginia conducted an extensive study on probiotic food to help reduce anxiety. Probiotics contain good bacteria that promote gut health. They also reduce social stress, which plays a role in controlling anger. Probiotics include yogurt, olives, sauerkraut, apple cider, vinegar, kimchi, pickles, cheese, cottage cheese, sourdough, bananas, soybeans, peas, and dark chocolate. Miscellaneous foods. Fish, poultry, and eggs boost dopamine. Oranges and blueberries also do. Avoid sugars. As mentioned earlier, sugar provides energy. When funneling into your thought process, it acts as a stimulant and may heighten anger. Carbohydrates are converted into glucose, a blood sugar, which enters the bloodstream, adding to anger-producing emotions. Alcohol. Alcohol has both good and bad effects on the human body. Its initial effect is relaxation, but it can convert into stimulation, depending on your system. Taken in moderation, alcohol can reduce the amount of cholesterol in your body, which, in turn, lowers your risk of a heart attack. It also decreases the likelihood of blood clots, the possibility of getting diabetes, or a stroke. The Mayo Clinic proposes that the allotted amount of alcohol for women should be 1 drink per day, and for men, 2 drinks. Binge drinking is much more risky. Between 4 to 7 drinks daily is unhealthy for both men and women. Of course, alcoholism can create permanent damage organically. Keep your caffeine intake moderate. As rocket fuel in the morning, coffee is acceptable, but you should control your intake. It does have a lot of health benefits. However, too much may make you tremble. The dreaded E word, exercise. To displace your anger elsewhere, exercise is recommended. When you are exercising, you're concentrating on your body positions. Your anger has built up energy via the adrenaline pumped into your circulatory system. This energy seeks an outlet. Exercise is a means by which you can displace your anger. As you exercise, you won't think of anything else. You needn't do difficult exercises either. Below are a few exercises that aren't too taxing, but will have the desired effect of dispelling your anger. You can make them more challenging by using weights on your legs. In addition, you can use dumbbell-like weights to raise your arms. Walking. Walking has been recommended for years and can be used by everyone who is mobile. It raises your heart rate and your blood pressure. However, this activity won't reach a crisis level. In a 6-year study conducted by Harvard University, endorphins, pleasure hormones, were released and sent around the body. Exercise routine number 1. 1. Stand up with your arms at your sides. Step forward, then step back. Swing your arms while doing this. Repeat this 4 times. 2. Step to the left, holding your left arm up horizontally. Step to the right, holding your right arm up. Repeat this 4 times. 3. March in position, again swinging your arms. Do this 10 times. The above is a warm-up exercise. When you're angry, your muscles will tense up, and your muscles may be stiff, so the above will help make your muscles supple. Exercise routine number 2. 1. March in place and bend your knees up high. Cross your arms in front of you while doing so. Do this for approximately 4 minutes. 2. Hold your right arm in the air and bend your body to the left. Then switch sides and hold your left arm in the air. Do this 4 times or more if you think you can. 3. With both of your arms stretched out in front of you, bend to the right Then bend to the left. Do this 4 times. 4. Lie on your left side with your arms propped up to hold your head. Lift your right leg up and down 10 times. Lie on your right side and do the same. 5. Lie on your back. Put a rolled up towel between your knees and squeeze. Do this 8 times. 6. Get on all fours. Lift your right leg up. Bend your knee and kick back. Do this 8 times. Switch sides and do the same to your left side. 7. Sit and rest your torso on the back of your palms. Bend your legs. Kick forward and backward with your right leg. Then kick forward and backward on the left leg. Repeat 8 times. 8. Lie on your back. Then lift up your legs and move them as if you're pedaling a bicycle. Do this 8 times. 9. While lying on your back, lift your right leg and bend your knee so that it reaches your midsection. Do the same with your left leg. Repeat this for about a minute. 10. Lie on your stomach. Bend your body upward, holding your bent arms on the floor. Lift up your upper body. Do this 8 times. 11. Lie on your back, crossing your hands behind your head. Legs should be bent and feet flat on the floor. Sit up and twist to the left, then to the right. Repeat 8 times. 12. Stand with your legs apart. Hold your arms outstretched in front of you. Bend your legs slightly, then squat down and up. Do this 8 times. Exercise routine number 3. 1. Stand with your hands on your hips. Place your legs as wide as you can. Tilt your head to the right, then to the left. Do this 5 times. 2. Stay in the leg position as above. Put your arms in front of you, palm to palm. Push as hard as you can. Do to the count of 20. 3. Stand with your hands on your hips. Bend to one side, then to the other side. Do this 5 times. 4. Lean against the wall and place one leg slightly behind you. Back that leg up until you feel a gentle pull on your calf muscle. Hold for 10 seconds and release. Repeat with the opposite leg. Try to do this 10 times. Hold onto a countertop if you feel unbalanced. Exercise routine number 4. 1. Sit on the floor with your legs wide apart. 2. Touch your left toe with your right finger. 3. Touch your right toe with your left finger. The above exercise stretches your back. Don't do it if you have lower back pain. Exercise routine number 5. 1. Sit on a hard chair. Slide down to the edge of the chair. Hold on to the sides of the chair. 2. Lift your butt up and down 10 times. 3. Lie down. Squeeze your butt 10 times. Exercise routine number 6. 1. Stand at the kitchen counter. Go up on your toes 4 times. 2. At the kitchen counter, go up on your heels 4 times while holding on to the counter. Keep your balance. 3. Sit down. Place your feet in front of you. Bend the toes toward you 4 times. Try to bend them up as far as you can. 4. In the same position, point your toes. Do that 4 times. Exercise routine number 7. 1. Lie on your back. Slowly bend the right knee, sliding the heel to your butt as far as possible. Kick your foot up. Do the same to your left foot. 2. Bend one knee, foot flat on the floor. Bring the opposite knee up towards your chest. Do the same to the other knee. 3. Stand up. Move your right leg out to the right as far as possible without losing your balance. Move to a standing position. Move your left leg out as far as you can. Repeat this 10 times. Exercise routine number 8. 1. Sit up straight. Put your right leg out, resting on the floor. Turn the foot to the left, then to the right. Do it 10 times. 2. Put your left leg out and do the same. 3. Put out your right leg and circle the foot to the right and then to the left. Do this 10 times. Then put out your left leg and do the same. Conclusion. This book is intended as a guide, but not a binding constitution. You have covered areas about many different aspects of anger. The biology of anger was explained, as it will help you understand what is happening in your body when you are angry. Now that you understand the physical consequences of anger, you will know how to rectify it. Anger, as elucidated here, isn't always bad, despite its notorious reputation. Without anger and your other emotions, you will have traded life for that which it seems. Mild and more demanding techniques and tips for controlling your anger were delineated here for your consideration and practice. They are creative and unlike others you've seen. Try various ones to determine which ones suit your lifestyle. You have been encouraged to use your whole body to learn anger management and relate to others in a gratifying way. Learn the skills to be happy with yourself. If you can master the techniques herein explained, it is guaranteed to increase your sense of self-esteem and merit the esteem of others. You deserve it.
We appreciate you tuning in to one of our captivating audiobooks. For more immersive experiences, here is another audiobook we're certain you'll enjoy. Don't forget to show your support by liking this video, sharing what you loved about this audiobook in the comments section below, and subscribing for more captivating audiobooks like this. Thanks for being a part of our audiobook community.